Hey guys, what's going on? It's Philip with Trade Genius, and on this video I wanted to talk about the announcement that was made yesterday about the Lightning Network atomic swap that was done between Litecoin and Bitcoin. So what does that exactly mean? Well, in my last video, a few videos back, we discussed atomic swaps, where if you have two different blockchains, for example, that are able to talk to each other, meaning that they can hash in the same way. So not all blockchains currently would be able to do that, but some can, Litecoin, Decred, and Bitcoin. But in other words, if I were to send you my Bitcoin and I wanted to get some, say, Litecoin back on a regular atomic swap, it would actually be a smart contract. I could send it to you, but you wouldn't get it until you send me yours on the agreed upon exchange rate. Once both sides enter into the contract initiates, and both sides get their amounts. So it takes away the trust from, if I sent you Litecoin and I expected a certain amount of Bitcoin back, I'd have to know you pretty well to do that. Otherwise, there's no law for you to send me back that transaction. So there's a trust needed there. So atomic swaps makes that trustless. All right. The difference between that and a Lightning Network atomic swap is that it happens off-chain. So they're instant, they have low fees, and they actually protect privacy because they actually don't transact on the blockchain. So there's quite a bit of an advantage going with a Lightning Network atomic swap. So on-chain atomic swaps, they're slower, and they have more transaction fees. Okay, so that's basically the advantages of a Lightning atomic swap. So basically what that does is that paves the way where we have like trustless exchanges. So we could have multi-coin payment processors, and then you might think, well, if the Lightning Network is fired up and it works on Litecoin, and Lightning Network will work on Bitcoin too, so if it works on both, why do you need either one? Like, if we're doing Lightning Network, why not just do it on Bitcoin and enable those kinds of features? Well, the thing is that you have to keep in mind about the scalability right now of Bitcoin. And granted, the SegWit upgrade has addressed a lot of that, but Litecoin was meant to be like the quicker, faster payment processor. So that's why a lot of times you hear Litecoin is the silver to Bitcoin's gold, right? But if you look at from the perspective of transaction fees, which is kind of like, you know, right now they're saying Bitcoin's transaction fees are high, and that really depends. You know, if you're in a hurry, yeah, you do have to pay more. If you're not in a hurry, you can still get a transaction through, and it might cost you 75 cents to do, like, you know, thousands of dollars of a transfer. So it's, you know, and that's going to get better with SegWit and things of that nature. But what happens is the Lightning Network transfer fees are kind of scaled to the blockchain fees, or transmit fees. So actually what will happen is you'll get to the point where it might find that if it transacts through a Litecoin Lightning node, you might transact faster going that route. And so you might get into a situation where your wallets, for example, you're going to say, I want to send a Lightning transaction. They may route through a Litecoin node, Lightning node, because it's actually going to be cheaper than, say, the Bitcoin node. So there's going to be an interesting need as this progresses to have Litecoin and Bitcoin together working on the Lightning Network. Not a lot of people realize that aspect of it, but I think it's huge to start thinking about that stuff now, because this is early innovator stuff, and we're starting to see just the very beginnings of this type of technology that kind of attaches itself to the mainstays of crypto, which are like, you know, Litecoin and Bitcoin, and you know, even the Ethereum. You know, those are kind of like the three amigos. So thought I would just explain that to you guys so you guys can understand the significance of that. You know, Litecoin, Charlie Lee's been pretty innovative with it, and you know, he was the first to come out with SegWit, was the first to start getting stuff on done with Lightning Network testing, and he's also looking at ways to do smart contracts on Litecoin. So it has a lot of potential, and I think it's undervalued. So what I wanted to do was kind of take a look. What we like to do in our videos is also look at our technical analysis. So what I wanted to do is bring up a Litecoin chart and show you guys where we're at in the stream of things. So if you look on the daily, I remember when people were saying Bitcoin was in a bubble, you know, tulip mania. This was even back in July, August of earlier this year. And then I would say, and it was during one of those Bitcoin pullbacks, and I'd pull up like a Litecoin chart, and I'd say like, well, that doesn't look like it's in a bubble. That looks pretty healthy, actually. And so Litecoin has been pretty steady. Now, as you can see, this was like in September 1st, a whole bunch of money came into the whole crypto space for whatever reason, and just rocketed that thing to almost $100. It capped out at $98+ on Coinbase. Okay, and then subsequently came back down, but it has held this overall trend. Now, I think you're probably looking at cheap Litecoin right now, and with the progress that they're making on the technology side, they're being really progressive, and I think these things like Lightning Network nodes is going to be a huge case for having Litecoin and a need for it. So it's a utility case, and that's what you need for a crypto, or especially an altcoin, if it's going to be around for any length of time. So I think bright future ahead for Litecoin. I think it is pretty bullish, and as you can see here, it's got a nice uptrend. If we crank down to the lower time frames, you can see our Trade Genius Crypto Money Machine indicator fired along here, and that popped pretty hard. Now these signal in real time, so you get long there, a little bit of a drawdown, and then boom. Plenty of time to take profit on trades. You know, you don't necessarily have to wait for the exit signal. You can move your stops up. So if you see a pullback and then up, you can move your stop up there. And if it came back, you could stop out. But that's a great move there from let's see, from 63 moved up to 71. So that's a good move. But these are pretty good. These long signals on the hourly for Litecoin are pretty decent. So currently what we're looking at is this took out some of these fib targets, and see, this one actually completed too, this big one. All right, so now what we're looking at is we'll draw another fib. Okay, so it's kind of moved back down, and it's kind of broken through that fib. So we may return back to this trend down here, and then it bounces higher. I do think this does bounce higher, though. The other thing you have to keep in mind is that some of the other forks for Bitcoin are still, they're trying to do it. Like there's a small group still trying to do SegWit 2x. Believe me, none of those are going to matter long term. However, some people may consider about, well, I'm going to sell some Bitcoin or Litecoin now because it popped, and I'm going to get back into Bitcoin and wait, you know, that way I get my fork coins and then I'll redeploy, that kind of thing. So I think we might be seeing a little bit of that. But Bitcoin or Litecoin has the potential, I think, to see one of those Ethereum type moves, and so keep an eye on it. It wouldn't hurt to get some at this level. I think it's undervalued for all the things that it has going for it, and they're being innovative. They're not, you know, it's a pretty good development team behind Litecoin. So there you have it. Looking at Bitcoin, we'll take a look at the Bitcoin technicals. We're just about getting into the London session. So Asia, usually if they're buying, they're going to buy up, and they usually sell a little bit. There was a bearish divergence here on the hourly, so it doesn't surprise me that we pulled back some, but the hourly is recharging for another surge higher, and we're coming off this fib zone, and looks like that target for this bounce would be 81.87. The other targets we have are at 83.14 and then 8500. You know, these are all based on these fib zones here. Then we have a really larger fib zone, which would take us to this one here, This is actually better looked at on the 4-hour. Let me switch to the 4-hour for you guys. Okay, that takes us to 8,500, and then you know what? Let me switch you to the daily. My bad. Let's look at the daily. So you see this big fib zone here? This is from the low that we recently had, or not recently, but 3,000. Touches, pulled back. Okay, so this is your largest low to high. Pulls back. Now you work your way out to this bounce. Takes us to 9,000. If we get anywhere between around 8,400 and 9,000, we're going to be overheated, and I would look for somewhat of a significant pullback. I do think Bitcoin pullbacks, we may be getting into a mode where we start seeing smaller percentages, whereas before we would see easy 30 plus to 40% pullbacks. This last one here was 30, and it was one of the shortest ones at only about 3 days. So maybe now we're starting to see where we'll see pullbacks 28%, 25%, because we've got a lot of money coming in from the sidelines for institutional investors. So there's some technical analysis for you guys. Like I said, London's close. We'll see if they start pushing it up, and if they do, we're going to start seeing new highs overnight. Otherwise, we'll pull back. We could see support at the next level at about 7,200. There's quite a bit of volume accumulated at that level. I think that'll work out pretty well. If you guys are interested in the indicator, there is a link below where you can click on it. That would give you the room and the indicator access for half off, and that's the November special. And the indicator itself is more than the room usually is, so it's a super good deal. You'll get the room and the indicator. And the room, we're always talking about cryptos. As you know, 1 week in crypto is like a year in everything else. Changes a lot, so it's good to have a good network and support system of other people looking at it. All right, guys, that's it. We'll get you another video tomorrow. Until then, take care. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button and like, and appreciate your time. Take care. Bye.